Ashley Runyon was supposed to be here moderating your session if you're paying attention to your app. So I will be playing the part of Ashley Runyon this afternoon, very poorly. But I lucked out and I get to talk about one of my favorite things, and that's partnerships. We all get a little bit further down the road when we share the burden of a cause, when we share resources, when we share talents, and we combine our skills to do bigger and better things than we are capable by ourselves. And, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about environmental justice or, economic development or anything that we do. When we partner together, we do better things. So I have 4 very talented folks with me that are going to talk about some of the projects they've been involved in. I have Amy Sohner, Executive Director with Bluegrass Greensource. Shiela Medina, Assistant Director of Policy and Engagement with the UK Center for Applied Energy Research. Carrie Ray, the Energy Program Coordinator with Mountain Association. And last but certainly not least, our own Sunni Carr, Executive Director with the Office of Kentucky Nature Preserve. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Miss Amy up. We're going to dance first.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Amanda. I've known Amanda speaking about partnerships for a long, long time, and so it's nice to see you in a lot of various ways. Thank you all for being here, for sticking around past lunch. It's always an exciting thing on a full belly to keep you up, so I'll try and be animated. I do talk fast, so you have to, pay attention. So my name is Amy. I am the director of Bluegrass Greensource. We are an organization that serves Central Kentucky for 21 years. We just celebrated our 21st birthday with tacos and tequila. So that's our fundraiser, just for if you want to think about that for next year. Bluegrass Greensource is an environmental education nonprofit. We serve Central Kentucky, as I mentioned, and our mission is to empower the bluegrass to create a sustainable environment. And I guess it would help if I actually push the green button that everyone's been talking about for quite some time. Our mission is to empower the bluegrass. So the way that we do that is through small changes that create a big impact. Oh, yeah. Very good. Sorry. All right. We serve Central Kentucky. So we have a 20-county region. Our offices are in Lexington, but we serve Central Kentucky. And the reason that we only sort of serve the central part of the state is because we really want places so that we can do direct outreach. We do a lot of things that are directly with the community. And we do a lot of partnerships with people in all of those 20 counties in the community. This is an example of our annual report for the calendar year 2021. We do a lot of work, like I said, direct engagements. We had over almost 25,000 direct engagements in 2021. This is lower after the pandemic, but I'm pretty proud of that number anyway because of, crazy that happened in 2020 and 2021. But this is just a little bit of a snapshot of what we do. We are really geared towards education, as I've mentioned. So it's preschool through 12th grade education as well as adult education. So why do we do this? Why is preschool through adults, through gray, someone mentioned that earlier, cradle to gray, why is that so important here in our state? Well, there's a wonderful quote from Margaret Mead that I'm sure that you've read many, many times. But mostly it's that people really can make a difference in doing small things, which is our motto, small changes make a big impact. Our motto really emulates this. And we also want to think that you don't just have to be a tree hugger. So I've been known maybe to hug a tree or two in my day, but I don't usually jump up and do this. Our goal is not to reach the people who are the biggest supporters of environmental justice and environmental equity and environmental things in Kentucky, but our goal is to reach everybody. And so we're not seen in Frankfort or in DC. Instead, we're seen with your grandparents and your neighbors and your kids, really helping understand how reducing waste, improving water quality, saving energy can really help us right here locally in Central Kentucky. So another reason why we do this is evidenced by a study that the Kentucky Environmental Education Council did in 2019. They're tasked every 5 years with doing a survey of attitudes, knowledge, and behaviors throughout the state. And so their report from 2019 showed this. Oh, here we go. Only 45% of Kentuckians can answer average questions. So these are average environmental questions. Only 45% of us can. Not of those of us in this room who all know what biomass is, thanks to our previous speaker, but only 45%. So our job as Bluegrass Greensource is to help increase that number year over year. Also important is the bottom one, that 93% of us think that environmental education should be taught in school. So that's one of the reasons that Bluegrass Greensource is doing this. I promise to get to partnerships in a minute. So how do we do that? And here we go. So Bluegrass Greensource is a nonprofit. We currently have 10 staff. We work in 20 counties, and so we cannot do that all by ourselves. We have to do it with partnerships. As a nonprofit, money partnerships are fantastic, and we have money partnerships with the Energy and Environment Cabinet in these two parts of that. So I'm really excited, and I'm going to talk about those two. But also people partnerships and doing partnerships. So we're really, and I'll explain how we work with all of those too. All right, so the first one that I'm going to talk about is a program that we do with the Office of Energy Policy. We've heard a lot of Office of Energy Policy things today, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we partner with the Office of Energy Policy and what we do for them, or with them. So first of all, we do energy workshops, energy efficiency workshops. Greensource is 21 years old, and for 21 years we've been teaching about energy efficiency. And until the last few years, I feel like we haven't done it super well. And one of the things that we thought was, oh, if we actually tell people why they should do something, they're just going to do it. Well, we know you shouldn't smoke, and we know you should wear seatbelts, and we know that you should exercise, for half an hour a day. But how many of us, well, you probably don't smoke, and you probably wear your seatbelt, but how many of us exercise half an hour a day? Not me. But I know I should. So one of the things that we've realized is that just telling people what they should do to make their homes more energy efficient doesn't directly work. We also have to figure out what the barriers are to what they're doing, to why they're not doing those things. And one of the things that we figured out was they don't understand. So we tell them you can caulk your windows and you can save a huge amount, not only in your comfort level, but also on your energy bills. But they don't know how to use a caulk gun, or they don't own a caulk gun, and it costs $8, but that's a lot of money either because they don't have a lot of money to begin with, or because they just want to buy their Starbucks coffee, And so what we decided to do is really address these barriers by doing these energy efficiency workshops that were going to be really, really hands-on and really address some of the things that we thought that they needed to know. And it's been huge. We've had great, great success with it. We've done a total of 30 of these workshops with the Office of Energy Policy. It was actually a pilot program we did through a US EPA grant a few years ago, and we're continuing it through this thing. We've done it in all of our 20, well, not all of our, but we've done it in a lot of our 20 counties. And it's been really great. Our audience, we really try and get to the underserved populations in central Kentucky. That could be linguistically isolated. It could mean that they're economically disadvantaged. It could be they're people of color. So we really are trying to target those areas and those people so that they can come. Everything that we do in these energy workshops is low bar. We're not doing new windows. We're not doing new HVAC. We're doing, and we give everybody materials. So you can see here on the picture here that there's a box of things that they get after the workshop. So not only do they receive these materials, they receive a caulk gun, they receive light bulbs, LED light bulbs, they receive outlet cover switches, things like that, but we also show them how to use it. So one of our partnerships in this is the Mountain Association with Carrie. Well, Carrie doesn't work directly on this, but we partner with the Mountain Association. And they show them how to do that. They show them how to put a caulk thing into a caulk gun. They show them how to put the outlet covers on. They show them how to look at their ducts. It's very hands-on. It's very much seeing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Hugely successful. We've had 100% of the people that have attended these workshops say that they would recommend it to a friend. And then Chris Woolery, who works with the Mountain Association, he gives his personal cell phone number out to all of the participants, and they call him when they're in their attic, and they say, hey, Chris, I see this. What do you think about this? And then he talks to them through it. So hugely successful program that we have in partnership with Office of Energy Policy and Mountain Association, among many, many others as well. Another part of our Office of Energy Policy program that we do is preschool. Now, if you've been paying attention the last 5 or 6 years, preschool education has really become increasingly known to be important. It's always been important, but even more so, people now believe that preschool education is really helps students for their entire lives, having that really good depth of preschool education. So in 2019, I think it was, Kenya Stump and Lona Brewer from Office of Energy Policy came to us and said, we really want to do something with preschool, but we don't know what there is, and we think that you guys can help us with it. And so we looked around and we saw there was no preschool energy curriculum at all. We had been currently already working on something we called Junior Nature Explorer. And this was a program that we did outreach to preschools for nature things. We had them raise quail, for example, and we talked about shortleaf pines, and we have amazing educators that can take shortleaf pines and make it exciting for preschoolers. So we worked with Office of Energy Policy and created the very first energy curriculum that we have. And so this was a booklet that we could give to preschool educators that they could learn. But again, you give it to them, it doesn't mean that they actually do anything with it, the teachers, that is. And so what we started doing, workshops for teachers, because the more that teachers can see the demonstrated things and the demonstrated activities that we do that are in the curriculum, the more confidence they feel in actually replicating those. So we did those teacher workshops and they were very successful. We also then sort of took the show on the road, and we went to libraries, and we went to places where preschoolers would be, and we did hands-on of these activities with the people there that were at were there. So we not only got the kids who were there, the preschoolers, but we also got their parents and their siblings. We reached, and this is just 1 year, this information is just from the last year, 102 participants came to our 7 family engagement events. Then after that, we did classroom education. So Greensource has done classroom education forever, and we're really good at this, and so we started really thinking that this was a really important part of our preschool education program as well. So we did 3 to 5 lessons with each of these 31 preschool classrooms, and not only that, we wanted to make sure, we know we're great, we know that, but we wanted to tell you all how great we were and prove it, and so we teamed up and partnered with Dr. Meg Gravel from Transylvania University, who's an education professor, and she evaluated our program. And she came in and she talked to the teachers and to the students that we were working with to see if what we were doing was actually useful and beneficial. And she overwhelmingly found out that it was, and we presented that. We're going to be presenting it at the Kentucky Association of Environmental Education conference later, and we've done it at another national conference earlier this past summer. But she found, Dr. Gravel found that the students got all the concepts and later made connections. So in case you're not sure what a preschool education lesson on energy is, I have a couple examples here. This one is a shady scavenger hunt. So students are learning about how the sun works, and they're drawing their shadows. They're working with flashlights in the classroom. And the teachers, after we did these lessons, noticed that for weeks afterwards, the students were still talking about shadows and talking about how it was a cloudy day and they couldn't see the sun. Now, these are very minor topics for you all, but for preschoolers, this is fantastic. Not only did they pay attention and listen, they also remembered it. God, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, much less if I was 3 years old. There's one other lesson I just wanted to show you guys. This was about boats, how many ways to move a boat. And so we had water, and we had the students using wind and the waves and all of that to move the boat. And again, teachers talked to us about how they had students coming up to them afterwards and saying, "Hey, I was in the bathtub last night and my boat moved because I moved the water," and that kind of thing. So again, this is obviously a very, very successful program that we had. All right. Lastly, we had a workshop with the Division of Water. And we've had a relationship with the Division of Water almost since our inception, and we're very excited about it. So this is a program that we've done for about the last 5 years. We knew that there were 3 watersheds in our area that had watershed-based plans, but there wasn't active implementation going on with them that we saw the need for. There's different kinds of implementation. But we understood that one of the problems that we really needed to work on was nutrients. And so we really wanted to focus on septic systems and on riparian buffers. So we started a septic system program that has been very successful. A lot of people have modeled it after us. We did not invent it, but we sort of fine-tuned it. And we've done a lot of septic system workshops where homeowners have to learn how to take care of their septic system, because the septic system works fantastically unless it doesn't, and it doesn't if you don't maintain it. So we wanted to make sure that people maintain their systems. So we've spent a lot of money. We have an 80-20 cost share where 80% of the funding comes from Bluegrass Greensource through the Division of Water, through the EPA, and then 20% comes from the homeowners, so there's a little bit of buy-in there. We also have a riparian buffer program, and we realized that riparian buffers are super important. It's a fantastic way to get nutrients out of water. However, and stops erosion and all sorts of things. However, they're ugly and unsightly, and they're full of pollinator plants, and who likes those? And so we really wanted to change that. And so we have demonstration programs. We also provide riparian buffer funding through the EPA, through the 319 grant, to farms and homeowners if they live on a creek side. This sort of is the gap between what the federal government will pay and what a homeowner might get $100 from their conservation district or something. So it kind of fits in the middle of that. And it's been hugely successful. We have a farmer-to-farmer field day that's coming up because we want to show that our partners are farmers and that they talk to each other, and we wanted to make sure that there's demonstration projects that they can see. And then we have stakeholder groups as well. So there's 3 watersheds we're working on, and we really got the community to talk and tell us what they wanted, and so that we could build partnerships with them. And we have a long list of the priorities from each of the 3 watersheds, and we're really excited about that. And then here's, I'm sorry, I'm out of time. And then here's just a list. This is on our website. This isn't just the partners we work with through the Energy and Environment Cabinet. We work with partners all of the time. And so I'm really excited about, we couldn't do anything without them. You know, again, a 10-person staff, there's no way that we're able to do all of that. So I am going to change it over to another one of our partners, to Shiela Medina.
Okay, green means go. Okay. Nope, not yet. Okay. How many of you all, I want you to raise your hand. We're going to pretend like we're back in preschool now. And I want you to pay attention, very close attention, to the questions that I'm getting ready to ask you. Raise your right hand if you had the dessert after lunch. Okay, put that hand down. Okay, raise your left hand if you can if you cannot name for me a fourth grader that can read a wiring diagram and wire a car. If you cannot. Okay, awesome. This is working really well. Guess what? I know 200 fourth graders that can. Okay, raise your right hand if you cannot name a fourth grader that can create a budget. If there is a fourth, you cannot name one. Come on, y'all, you need to get these arms up. Just like you're in school. Okay, next question. Raise your left hand if you cannot name a fourth grader that knows what a 13 millimeter socket wrench is. I can tell you 200 that can. And the last one is, tell me who in here knows a fourth grader that can make a presentation to a company and ask for money for their project. Awesome, awesome. I know 200 kids that have done that, fourth and fifth graders. Okay, this is going to take just a minute to get started, and I'm introducing you to these fourth graders now. This is Jenny V Racing. This is our project that we're doing in partnership with the Energy Cabinet. I can't look at that. It's showing right there. Once I start looking at these kids, you can't take your mind off of them. This is the most awesome project you will ever see. And this is the race that we had in last June. Fourth graders, about 13 schools, fourth graders racing at Kroger Field. One of the things that we have here is, if you all have seen our cars out there, if you haven't, please stop by our booth and talk about it. You have heard them talk about tomorrow. We're going to have 2 of our schools here. We're going to have the kids here. And I do hope that you will come out and talk to them because they know everything about that car. They will tell you about wiring that car. They will tell you about driving that car. They will tell you everything. You can't shut them up. Just like when you get me started talking about the cars, you cannot shut them up. So you're going to have to tell me when my time is over. Okay, we have 2 programs, basically the same concept. The one on your left, the white one, is called the Goblin Car. That is the car that 4th graders and 5th graders build and race. The car on the other side is the car that we're hopefully getting started this year. That's the middle school, high school car. Once you get them built, okay, try it again. There. Okay, once you get them built, you get the skin on it. This is basically what they look like, and those are ready to race. Now, one of the things that we've talked about a lot today, and I feel like this whole conference has been feeding into this project, because we're talking about workforce development. And that's exactly what this project is, starting from the 4th grade. If you look at these, and we've got a sheet out there if you want to take this with you. But over my years, I've been in the energy industry ever since I got out of college. I'm not going to tell you when that was, but obviously it was a long time ago. But every conference that I have been to that has focused on workforce development, the thing that I have always heard is the universities train students really well in technical aspects. But the place that we are truly, truly lacking is the soft skills. Okay, this project even does that. They not only learn how to read blueprints, they learn what tools are, they learn teamwork, they have to apply for a job to get on the team. Not every kid is on the team. They learn racing strategy. Obviously, the cars are push-off cars. They don't start from scratch. Obviously, there's physics there. You want the little kid driving, the big kid pushing. And that's just basic physics. So they learn racing strategy. They learn budgeting and planning. They have to create a budget. The art and the design on the outside, on the skin of the car. That's a different type of student that is engaged there. Presentation skills, you've got those outreach kids. Fundraising, they have to do job applications. They learn environmental stewardship. They learn, the one thing about this that is so interesting and is so vital is they learn critical thinking. On race day, if something goes wrong with your car, if your tire blows out, if your brakes go wrong, the kids have to fix it. Mom and dad cannot run out there and fix it. The teacher cannot fix it. The teacher helper cannot fix it. It's all the kids. And they're there when you watch them. They're there. Fully project-based education. And one of the things they have to do is they have to defend all of their design concepts with judges on race day. And race day is for the Goblin cars, it's about 50% on that presentation to the judges and 50% on their timing on the races. There's additional, when you get up to the bigger cars, it gets a little bit more sophisticated. They're allowed to do 3D design on some of the design parts of the car. Some of the cool things that can happen is when you get into high school, you get the AP students working with the VOTEC students to create an awesome team. And actually, those are the teams that do better in the races. So it's not just one kind of student. This is where we were in the state this past year. We had 20 cars available. One of them is out there. That one's mine. Nobody gets it. And I do love driving them. The little cars go 10 to 15 miles an hour. The big black one goes 20 to 25 miles an hour. And I will tell you, it is awesome. So this is where we were this year. We had actually 16 schools that raced. The Callaway County way out in western Kentucky, we had 3 schools there. They did not travel to Lexington to race. They had their own race day in Callaway County. We're hoping that with the Goblins that we can get further into western Kentucky. One of our partners in the project encouraged me to go to the Kentucky Career and Technical Education Conference this summer. And that represents somewhere around 48 to 50 cars that want, and these are the bigger cars that want to be into the program. Actually, in cost-wise, this is a very expensive program. Cost-wise, that represents about $550,000. The cars are not cheap. And so we are trying to provide the cars to the school because schools cannot afford that. But they do have to raise money for their helmets, their gloves, and all that kind of stuff, so that gets them into the fundraising. So we're hoping to grow this. The secretary has pointed out to me there's a lot of white on that map. And I will tell you, when she says, Sheila, there's white on that map, I know what I'm supposed to do. Our partners in this, obviously, Team Kentucky, the Energy and Environment Cabinet, and I think Secretary Goodman and Kenya Stump for having the foresight to look at this program, to see where Kentucky is going in the future, to see what we need. Yes, those little cars out there are electric vehicles, but as you can see, a socket wrench, it applies any industry that you have out there. Presentation skills applies anywhere. And so we are based in electric cars right now, and that's where the name comes from, Generation Electric Vehicles. Obviously, the Center for Applied Energy Research and Green Power USA, they are a national organization this is a national and actually international program. Our kids, once they get a race or two under their belt, they can go to other states and race, particularly with the bigger cars. The national race this year was at Talladega. They have, I'm serious, they also have raced in Indianapolis. You tell a kid you can build a race car and you can drive it at Talladega, they're in. They're in. Also, Team Kentucky, I'm working very close with the Education Cabinet and the workforce development people there to get this into schools. I'm an engineer. I don't know anything about education. I'm learning very, very quickly, so they're keeping me straight on what I'm doing in the schools. And also the Lieutenant Governor. She's very, very interested in project-based learning. She has shown me some places where I need cars also. So, anyways, that's what we're doing. We hope that you all can. I'm going to skip this one because I've already said it. But please come partner with us. We're out there tomorrow. People have said that we will have some of the schools there. In the morning, on the morning break, we'll have Cass City Elementary from here in Lexington. The afternoon, we will have the Rise STEM Academy for girls here. We hope that you all can come out, talk to them, because they know the program. They know their cars, they know their science, they know their physics. So we invite you to talk to them. Thank you. And I am now going to pass it to Carrie Ray with the Mountain Association.
All right. Thanks. I'm Carrie Ray. I'm the Energy Programs Coordinator with the Mountain Association. I'm having the same problem. This is not what the font. So I apologize for the font. It didn't transition, but okay. The Mountain Association invests in people and places in Eastern Kentucky to advance a just transition to an economy that is more diverse, sustainable, equitable, and resilient. We work in all 54 counties designated as Appalachian by the ARC, which is, I usually say, this is all the counties you would think of as Appalachian and several counties that you do not think of as Appalachian. We have a number of programs, including lending. We're a community development financial institution, which is kind of a nonprofit bank, an entrepreneur support program, community development programs, and our energy team does a number of things. We do advocacy, regulatory work, workforce development. We're working, as Brad Clark mentioned earlier, on the Martin County program, or Martin County Solar Project. But today I want to talk about the work that our energy team is doing with the support of the Office of Energy Policy. Since 2012, our energy team has been helping businesses, nonprofits, local governments get a handle on high energy bills through energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades. We're not contractors. We just want to help folks know their options to make the best investments for their bottom line. Most of our clients don't know a lot about energy. They just know they've got to lower their bills somehow. On our team, we have 2 certified energy managers, one of whom is a former solar installer. We have a former energy efficient home builder who Amy referenced earlier is the one that is, takes calls from people at any hour of the day to answer questions about their ductwork. And I'm none of those things. I'm not an engineer, but I'm really good at spreadsheets. So that's what I bring. We all work together to provide this expert technical assistance to our clients. Now, it's no surprise to anybody in this room, I'm sure, that energy bills are rising. Some of that is due to electric rates. You can see here that our investor and utilities rates in our service territory have been raising pretty steadily since 2014. That's not the only thing that contributes to high bills, as Kenya mentioned earlier. There's meter fees and demand charges and surcharges and fees. The fuel adjustment charge has been a huge issue recently. We get lots of calls from folks recently saying, look, I'm not using any more energy. I'm using less energy. Why is my bill so high? And we have to explain, the cost of fuel is going up, and that gets passed on to you. We're seeing surcharges and riders in Kentucky for our Kentucky Power clients, accounting for almost 15% or more of their bills recently. And outside of bills, the building stock in Eastern Kentucky is often old. It's in poor condition. It's leaky. The HVAC is, 20, 30 years old. And all of this together leads to energy bills that can be so high that some business and nonprofits in our region literally can't afford them. We have heard multiple times, look, if I can't pay these bills, I'm going to have to close my doors. This is not a negotiable bill. If you're going to run a business or, a city hall or a grocery store, you've got to pay your electric bill. You've got to pay your gas bill. So that's where our energy audit program comes in. We provide utility bill analysis. The first thing we do, we look at 12 months of utility bills, see how folks are using energy, make sure they're on the right rate class, that they're not paying sales tax if they're a nonprofit or a local government. A lot of times we're able to find savings right there. We have a lot of times we find nonprofits are paying sales tax or that folks are on the wrong rate class, and it's a great way to start a relationship with a client by calling them up and saying, hey, here's $1,800 in savings now that you're going to find a year, and here's $3,000 you're getting back in a sales tax refund, and you didn't have to do anything except send me your electric bill. So that's a really great way to get people interested in what they can do to save money on their bills. After we do the billing review, we go on site to do the energy assessment, where we look at lights, we look at HVAC, we look at building envelope, insulation. We have a lot of folks who are interested in solar, so we'll get up on the roof. I always say I could start a coffee table book of rooftops of Eastern Kentucky. Very exciting. Nice views sometimes. And really interestingly, I've been in this role for 5 years, and when I started, folks would call us about lights or HVAC, and we would go out there and say, wow, your roof is really great. You've got a great orientation. Have you considered solar too? Let's just take a look at that and see what that would look like. And now we're getting folks calling saying, hey, I want to put solar on my building. And we say, that's awesome. Probably should change out those fluorescent lights first. It's a lot cheaper to do that than it is to invest in solar. But with all the new incentives for solar, people are investing in both at the same time now. The interest in solar is skyrocketing, which is very exciting. And we work with commercial businesses, not homeowners, but we do nonprofits, small businesses, local governments, and recovery centers. And with this grant from the Office of Energy Policy, we're able to offer these services at no cost to the client, which is really fantastic. Our typical recommendations: LED lights, obviously, that's generally a no-brainer. Programmable thermostats, another no-brainer. Air sealing, water heating, insulation, HVAC, and solar. We're in our third year of our grant with OEP, and since 2020, we've completed 169 energy assessments, serving 97 clients. Some clients have multiple buildings or multiple locations. 39 of them were nonprofits, 47 small businesses, and 11 local governments. $56,000 in sales tax refunds. This is money going directly back to nonprofits in the region. $20,000 in annual savings going forward. That's just from utility bill analysis. So far, we've had 32 retrofits, 28 efficiency retrofits, and 4 solar installations that are saving clients an estimated $88,400 a year, and reducing CO2 equivalent emissions by almost 1,500 megatons a year. We've got a number of other retrofits and solar installs in the queue, so we're expecting that 32 to go up, particularly again with a lot of these incentives that are coming down the pike with the Inflation Reduction Act. I want to share one success story out of many with God's Pantry. They distribute food to food pantries across our service territory. We did on-site audits in London, Prestonsburg, and at the Lexington headquarters, as well as a desktop solar assessment for Moorhead. There was a new building and didn't really have a lot of efficiency needs, so we did a remote solar assessment there. The facilities head at God's Pantry is a former lighting technician, which is great. He already knew how important LED lights were, but they were really only replacing their fluorescent lights as they burnt out, which is a thing we often come across, a pretty typical thing to think, why fix something? It's still working. But with our energy audit and the savings analysis, we showed them how much money they're actually losing by waiting to upgrade all their lights. They had in-house labor, which saved them a bunch of money on installation costs and allowed them to do the install kind of in batches. It doesn't have to be all at once. Over the course of a few months, they did a full upgrade of the lights at their London warehouse, in addition to a small HVAC upgrade, and it's now saving them about $2,500 a year. Now, God's Pantry is able to provide 8 meals for every $1 in donations, which means that this $2,500 savings equates to about 20,000 additional meals for people in need across our region, which is really it really underscores what energy efficiency and solar energy can do by reducing bills. This isn't just, it's extra money for the bottom line that then gets reinvested in the community. If you're a nonprofit, it's money for your mission. If you're a small business, it's money that you invest in your community. If it's a local government, it's more money to put into essential services for your community. We're also helping them to explore a solar opportunity for their Prestonsburg location, again, which is getting a huge boost from the 30% direct pay option for nonprofits now. We're so excited about that. We are really grateful to the Office of Energy Policy for investing in this project. Just allowing us to provide our energy services free of charge just removes one more barrier between a business, a nonprofit, or a local government and the services they need. These are folks who have 800 things on their to-do list, and when we can go in there and say, hey, we can do this for you, we can do it for you for free right now, they're saying, sign me up, and that gets us in the door and helps us create that relationship. This isn't as exciting as building race cars, but it's providing real benefits to folks in our region who really, really need it. We're excited to partner with OEP, and we hopefully can continue to do this in the future. And thank you, and I will turn it over to Sunni with the Office of Nature Preserves.
Well, I tell you, this is a hard group to follow for sure. And I'll just be upfront and honest. I was teasing with Amanda. I said, I got put in this session just to spice it up a little bit, a little something different. But I would just like to say I have been with EEC Cabinet now for just a year in September, and it is absolutely, out of a 25-plus year career in natural resources thus far, this has been one of the most exciting and challenging years that I've had. And when I say challenge, I mean in a good way. And there have been several people today who have implied that when something comes up and it's not what you assume, that's not necessarily a problem, but it's a really good opportunity. And I can tell you, standing here, I've had a lot of interesting things in my career. I spent 25 years at Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. And so when I hear different topics come up in our cabinet, I get really excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know somebody that can help, or what an opportunity. And so I'm going to be very honest with you. In the course of listening to the speakers today and trying to read this audience and what is important to you and what our office does and can do, I'm going to talk about partnerships, but I've retooled it to be in a language that would be something that would be more meaningful to you. And things that I hear when we're in staff meetings and things about communities and environmental justice, resiliency, infrastructure, those all have a meaning within the energy community. And in my world, in the quote environment community, it's very different. And so I'm going to go through just a few slides. I wanted to put some pretty pictures up so you guys could, look at something different for a while. But I'm going to talk about language and opportunities. So just a little bit of history. I thought this was very interesting. I was sitting here earlier and I looked at the slides and I was like, the 46th Governor's Conference. Our office, it was originally the Kentucky State Nature Preserves Commission. It was started 46 years ago under Governor Julian Carroll at the time. How ironic, this is the 46th conference. So I thought that was interesting. In 2018, there was a change made, and a couple of things came to be housed together. We went from a commission to an office, and now we have the State Nature Preserve System. We have the Heritage Land Conservation Fund, the license plate or the nature plates that you see. We handle the administrative side of that, and then the Wild Rivers Program. We're all brought under an office, and we are under the direction of Secretary Goodman. So when I look at my job every day I come in, there's a map, and there's about 140,000 acres on it spread out across the state that we either have ownership in or some type of management responsibility or partnership interest in. We have a staff of less than 30, so that's a little challenging, but there's where the opportunities come in. When I come to work every day, I think about resiliency. It may not be in terms of an infrastructure grid, an electric grid or something, or water systems, but I still am thinking about resiliency. I think about climate change. I think about how can we do things more efficiently? How can it be better? And what is very important, and one of the things that I absolutely love about being in this cabinet, is I spent so much of my career where you tended to have business on one side and the environment kind of on the other, and it was just an assumption that things were going to be at odds with each other. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm standing here, I'm telling you with a lot of experience, there are so many opportunities to work together. Your definition of resiliency may be a little bit different than mine. When I think of resiliency, I'm thinking of natural corridors. We've heard about riparian zones and things like that today. We hear about climate change. So I'm thinking, oh, yes, climate change is here. We see the impacts of it, whether it be flooding, it be droughts, increased fire. In my world, we burn stuff on purpose because it's really great for the environment when it's done correctly, and we do it very well. We do it in partnership with our office, with forestry, with Fish and Wildlife, and others. But I did assure the secretary the other day we had no rain. I said we're scaling back a little bit till we get some rain. So no panic. But those systems, those ecological or environmental systems that we work on are as important to you in the business community as they are to me in the environmental and the ecological community. The way I look at it is there is one landscape that we all have to live and work on. I'm a Kentuckian. I'm from South Central Kentucky. I'm sure my accent didn't give it away. But I love being a steward of resources in the state. It's one of the highest callings I think I could have as a citizen. And I take it very important. I also realize I love my hairdryer, I like my cell phone, and I still have a CD player, so that dates me a little bit. But I like to plug all those things in. And And at one point, I also owned a Camaro. So when the carbon discussion comes up, I feel really bad about that too. So, so I've got a lot of things on, I'm not coming from this one side by any stretch. But when I think about resiliency and the landscape that we have to work on, there's one piece of ground, and we have to share it and do it smart. I can tell you, back to those corridors, climate change, we're talking about how to reduce our impacts. And we are, in my office and others that are similar, we're talking about how can we improve carbon sequestration through good land management. When the gentleman was talking about the biomass, my ears perked up for sure. Parts of me were going, this is really interesting, and parts were going, oh, wait, be careful where you want to do that. And it's not bad. It's just doing it up front. And he made some really good comments. And another gentleman that spoke earlier, these regulatory agencies are not your enemy. They can be your friend. I'm telling you, my office is very small, but my responsibilities are very large. I have partnered a lot with businesses in the past. I have worked with threatened and endangered species issues in the state for decades. And I'm telling you, you can win. You can do it together, and you can do it up front. If you come to the table early and say, hey, we want to do this, there might be times where we go, ooh, that's kind of a code red. Is there somewhere, what are our options? Can we look at all of our options and then work through and find solutions so that, as a business owner or operator, you've got assurance. What can I do? When can I do it? Where can I do it? How can I do it? As somebody who has responsibility and stewardship for the state resources, the most precious in the state nature preserve system, is some of the rarest of the rare. And that's our job. That's our responsibility, is to take care of that for all of our citizens. And that's a big, tall order with just a handful of people, but they're very committed. We can do it. We can absolutely do it. We can help. Talking about, again, back to biomass, and there were some questions that came through about what material. Ironically, you may or may not realize this, in land management, what we consider part of our job, we've been talking about how to work in forested landscapes for decades, and a lot of it in eastern Kentucky, and there's a lot of biomass there. The problem for us is you've got a bunch of biologists in a room talking to each other, and they're like, I don't know, this stuff needs to come out so this stuff can be good. In talking about the bourbon industry, they're looking at white oak regeneration. They want staves. They need them today, but they need them in 50 and 75 years. This is all about planning and working together and opportunities. We can absolutely help. In the world that I work in, we have tools that can help you define where's the sensitive areas, where are those species or concerns. Talking about land management, and Deputy Commissioner Lyons mentioned this morning about solar, and there was a question about dual use. My husband and I, we farm a lot of acreage. There's concerns even in the little part of the world that I live in about acreage that might have to be given up for solar. And so there's the perceived conflict. And again, none of it's bad. It's just talking to each other, doing the right stuff in the right places with some input, and having wins in your local community for the resources. And I'm telling you, a little bit of prevention in the world that I work in is worth many pounds of cure, because no business wants to go into an area and start dealing with threatened or endangered species. When things get there, you're in the emergency room. Our goal is to take good care of what we have now, take a couple of visits to the doctor, put some Band-Aids on, get on a healthy diet, and move forward. And there's a lot of truth in that. I've done this for a long time. We can work together and solve a lot of problems. We have recovered, and don't be afraid of plants too. That's my new line, because used to I just worked with animals pretty much all the time. Now we're the plant authorities in the state where I'm at. Plants are much easier than animals, let me tell you. They don't move around. You don't have to net them. You don't have to snorkel and grab them. They're not slimy. It's a lot easier, I'm just saying. we can fix plants. But really, Kentucky, if you don't think like this, I want you to have a thought on your way home. I absolutely love my state. Born and raised here, and I'll die here unless I'm on the road going to Disney World and I'm on a highway in another state. But other than that, I'll probably die here too. But I can tell you, if you look where we are on a map in North America, if you just look east of the Mississippi River and you look where our state is, and I don't care if you're from Fulton or if you're from Floyd County, this state has more biological and ecological richness than so many places around us. If you go to northeastern Kentucky to Carter Caves, those plant communities up there, and I've done a lot with bats. Well, I've got bats in my mind. That mimics the Northeast. You come down into south central Kentucky, where I'm from, you're starting to get into some of that southern flair. You go into western Kentucky, you've got that Mississippi floodplain feel. We've got a lot of Midwest. And just to give you an idea, I promised a couple of pretty pictures. When we go back to partnerships, we partner all over this state. Here's an example, Green River, Western Kentucky University. But you know what? We partner with all kinds of universities, not just for research, but for land management, for acquisition. We've talked about workforce development. In our office, our staff are working through Eastern Kentucky University. You said it best, working with young people. We need people that know how to work. They're super smart with computers, and that's wonderful. But what they don't know how to do is to operate in the field. So, I missed it. I hope you all saw that was a fiscal court up there and a conservation district and others. We work with local and county governments. And then on Pine Mountain, we worked with everybody under the sun, trying to help provide public opportunity for hiking and enjoyment, and also environmental management. My take home today, and what I'm so happy that I heard in this room, and I did change my talk, but I hope that you realize that every person in here does something really important. And I will stick to this forever. You've got to be creative, be a good partner, be upfront, be honest with each other, and be bold. Nobody ever did anything big by taking little tiny baby steps all the time. Think of something big, make a plan, and make it happen. And I promise you, if you are in private industry, this cabinet is probably one of the best opportunities, at least the staff that I've had the pleasure of working with in my career in state government. I have more faith in this cabinet and the leadership to get wonderful things done than I've ever seen before. And I think we are standing on the cusp of doing some really innovative things in our state. And we can absolutely make business and the environment work together. So thank you all so much.
All right, we've got a couple questions here. So the first one is for Shiela. Will middle schoolers and high schoolers be working on the same car, or will they have separate cars?
I've been sitting here looking at that question and trying to figure out exactly how to answer it, because I can take it a couple different ways. If you have a school system and you have a middle school involved in the program and you have a high school, that's two separate cars. Middle schoolers also would race separately from the high schoolers. The reason being is, as you go through this program, you're dealing with a lot of different maturity levels. And I can tell you, you put a middle schooler behind the wheel of that race car out there, and they're mean. They are very mean. And the high schoolers are more, they race. They're concerned about their time. But the little kids, they want to knock that other person off of the racetrack. So, yes, they will be separate, so they don't all work on the same car. I hope I answered that question with whoever asked it. Okay, you want me to keep it? You want me to go? Okay, the next question is, how does the school get involved in the EV racing program? Call me. My cards are out there on the table. Just come out and talk to us. There's several of us here that are involved with the program. Anna has been called out before. She's back in the back. We're bringing her up in the Gen AV program. So just call me. Business card. There's a sheet out there.
She's working for Region 4 at this point, right?
If she's not working for the cabinet.
Yeah, I know. All right, the next question is for Sunni. What tools are available for the public to learn more about program activities and assist communities with development?
We have. Yes, there it goes. There are conversations that are probably more helpful to have. In terms of tools, we do have a project tool, KY BAT, if you're looking at potentially citing a project that's got threatened and endangered or sensitive species information on it. But in terms of what program activities and things that we can do, on our website, and it's under the EEC cabinet, it's Nature Preserves. You can go there. We have a Facebook page, and we list things that are coming up if there's volunteer activities coming up. If there is a project that is not just like a community work day in some of the preserves or something, if there's something bigger that you're interested in my previous life, I've done projects with businesses. They had extra acreage, and they didn't know what to do with it, and they didn't want to just mow it. They've worked with me before on land management things like putting in pollinator plantings or doing tree plantings, and we would organize it where their staff could have a work day if it was of interest to the company, and we'd help them get the materials and lay it all out, be there on site, help them plant, teach them how to maintain. Those are kinds of things are more site specific, so you're welcome to get in touch with me there. But it's our Office of Kentucky Nature Preserves Facebook page. That'll give you the real-time activities. You're welcome to call me or get in touch with me. It's sunni.carr, it's sunni.carr@ky.gov.
Good deal. Well, I think we have one more for you. Do you see opportunities to work on resiliency projects in rebuilding after the floods and tornadoes?
Yes, I do. In fact, when the flooding happened, timing is very important, to be very sensitive to families and all of the tragedy that occurred there. But one of the things that came to mind was efficiencies and assistance in communities when the time was right. And this is all coming from an ecological or environmental perspective. I've worked on projects that were done after flood events in the past, and there were things like culverts put in. They were done with good intention to get folks back to their homes and so forth quickly. But the result was, we had some fish that were federally endangered, and they're about 2 inches long, and those little guys just can't make that 2-foot jump up to that culvert. The folks putting those in don't know that. So I have reached out, and I had left a message and then did get contacted back with some colleagues that work in federal government, and they're working on culvert placement and some technical guidance to help communities. We're talking about like riparian zones and different things, and as these communities start to heal, there's going to be areas they'll be like, what should we do with this and how should we approach it? But I can assure you, there's a lot of conversation, and somebody brought this up earlier. I was really glad to hear it. Not only is funding available, but these communities need help with being able to receive and administer and needing physical help to do that. So I was really glad to hear that, and that's been a part of this conversation too with rebuilding. And we are addressing that, but it'll take a little bit of time.
All right, good deal. Well, I would actually love to stay and talk to you guys more. I think there's so much more to talk about in terms of partnerships and where we're going on multiple fronts, whether that's environmental justice or education for kids and all that good stuff. But our time is up. So I'd like to thank all of our presenters this afternoon for a wonderful session. We appreciate you. And we're going to head into our last session of the day. Mr. Carrie Johnson, our Division of Water Director, and his panel will come up, and they'll be talking a little bit about resiliency and some of the issues that Kentucky is facing in terms of infrastructure and water, wastewater, and various and sundry other things. So, Carrie?